Hey, everybody, welcome to our new series entitled Hailing Frequencies Open. In this series, we talk about the comments that our commenters left in our comment section, and then we comment on them.
Yeah, we're just dudes commenting on other dudes.
And it's all part of our weekly Star Trek podcast where we talk about a Star Trek episode weekly. But without any further delay, let's get into what you say.
They're hailing us. Hailing frequencies open.
Captain, we're receiving 285,000 hails.
I wish I knew what to tell them.
So, right off the bat, we'll talk about last week's Hailing Frequencies Open. Our friend from the office commented, "Starships, baby."
Yeah.
Then he goes on to say, "Seeing Caleb draw in his breath and sit back before having to listen to my lengthy comment gives me
Ah,
strength."
yeah. I knew he'd like that.
And then he laughs. So then we have a comment from Captain Olimar on our Neutral Zone podcast. He says, "People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of things. We have grown out of our infancy. Gotta say, guys, happy it's over. The best part of this episode is that it's the last one for the season."
Yep. Even that couldn't make me rate it better.
He says, "Some of my favorite episodes of Star Trek involve the crew interacting with people of the past in some way, from whales to Bones on a rampage. And then this episode shows how you can muck it up."
Mm. I do like that aspect of Star Trek, like as far as like an episode.
Yeah, I mean, the two episodes he's referring to, well, the one is a movie, The Voyage Home,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
they go back, which is great. And then the other one he's talking about is City on the Edge of Forever.
Forever.
Yeah,
I like Bones going crazy.
yeah. Murderers, killers.
Yeah, I do like episodes where they deal with the past and that kind of stuff. The only issue I have is the same thing I always talk about is that they are so confused by the past that those episodes end up just being like a big like, oh, we don't understand anything about humanity's history because we're so far in the future and perfect. And I don't really like that, but
I think the other thing too is like when you think about it in a different like context that okay, let's say we were to travel to like the medieval times or like ancient Rome times. Like
yeah.
everything would be generally different. Like people would be very wildly dressed different. How they talked would be wildly different. How buildings and like society would be pretty much on its head.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
And that's probably like 7 to 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And Star Trek Future is like made up. It's not real. And so they have to take a make-believe concept and then put people who live in this modern time, like the actors live in this modern time, and then they have to be like, okay, the pretend future, this is how you are. So when you come back to 300 years, you have to act like this, otherwise you're just going to blend in because you look like normal people. Like their uniforms are weird-ish, but they're not that weird. They're just like they just are
Yeah.
weirdly colored. That's kind of it. They're not so widely different. I mean, they have shirts and pants. Okay. It's like it's not
Yeah.
not a toga or like a metal helmet or chainmail. It's nothing like crazy. It's just a different colored scheme. So I think that's like the hardship is like
Yeah.
to make Kirk and the crew stand out or any other thing. Even when the one we watched where like La'an and Parallel Dimension Kirk travel to Toronto. It's like
Yeah.
you can only do so much. It's like you have to make them be kind of stupid in our modern era so that we resonate with them feeling like they're actually from the future.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best example of an episode, honestly, that does it well.
Yeah,
If you want to like sell me on the fact that like they don't understand stuff, it's like Money is a good
right.
example. So them, you remember when like Kirk and Lon are like wanting to
The
do
hot
stuff,
dog
but they're
stand.
like, oh, we need money.
Yeah.
And I think they did that even in the movie too, right? Where Kirk gets like money and then gives
Yes.
everybody like
Yes.
$20 or
Yeah.
something. Like I like that. That to me is enough. That's like, oh yeah, they don't use money in the future.
Oh, true. Yeah. Like they don't need much to sell you on, but they need just enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a really great sequence too, is Archer and T'Pol and that guy in the truck and they go through the drive-through because they're
Oh yeah.
hungry. But him being in the drive-through line and then being like he just wants a hamburger and it's like, do you want to make that jumbo size? And he's like, no, I don't want to make a jumbo size. And then
Yeah.
T'Pol asks if animal meat is on the salad and she's like, we can add chicken tendies for 3.99 and she's like, I don't want a salad. Never mind.
Yeah. That was pretty good. See, like that stuff I enjoy. I don't enjoy the whole like Picard not understanding city blocks. That to me is ridiculous. So, you know, everything else is pretty good. Like you can tell me that they're from the future without being like making them just morons, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
And I
you're not gonna tell me that they don't still use blocks in the future. Like you're just not like, and if you did, like I don't believe you. Starfleet is in San Francisco. Even if everybody flies shuttles,
yeah,
you're still gonna have block systems for where buildings are located. Like you're just not.
yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense.
It's ridiculous. So I
And
do like those episodes if they're done well.
I agree. Then he says, sad lady, country star, and businessman make up like 70% of the plot, and they all suck to varying degrees.
Yeah, they do.
Country guy is pointless, sad lady the same, and businessman is annoying when we should be focusing on the Romulans.
No, you don't want to have just one main good story. You want to have like
Yeah.
an interesting B story that you'd rather watch, and then the A story is just like you just wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
you can't do that. You couldn't have the whole episode be about like the Romulans that you haven't seen in 400 years. That would
No.
be boring. I want to know how this lady feels about her great great grandson still being looking like her husband. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I want to know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
That's what you tuned in this week for.
yeah, oh yeah, that's what I came for.
When they were playing the trailer for next week's episode, you were like, are we going to learn about this lady's heritage?
Because sign me up.
Commander, look at this.
The crew discovers frozen survivors from the 20th century.
What's gonna happen to us?
In the middle of a perilous mission to confront arch enemies.
You think that we attacked your outposts?
Could this feared encounter spark an explosive battle?
I recommend we go immediately to battle stations.
Find out on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
He says the outpost being a tease for something bigger is cool. Much better to keep focusing on the frozen bumpkin and his guitar and fellow businessman to the bridge to tell us things we already know.
Yeah, no kidding.
Thanks. We already have Troy for that. He says, good luck with season 2. Thanks for the review as always.
Can't wait.
Well, thank you very much, Captain Alimar, for your comment. We appreciate you sticking along. I think you've been one of the longest subscribers on our channel that has commented pretty far back.
Yeah, as far as I can remember.
So thank you very much. Next is a comment from my office on also our neutral zone episode. He says, "Highway to the neutral
Danger
zone."
zone. Nice.
He says, "Oh man, I love this episode." Just kidding, of course.
He's just saying that because I was telling everybody last week how he's always like super positive and like stuff that everybody else hates usually. He's just
Just
trying to
trying to,
upset me.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. Second worst finale of the series, in my opinion.
Oh boy. That's good.
It's okay. It's all right. What
Why
do
do
you think?
people tell me these things?
No, no, it's all right. Don't worry. You'll understand.
Oh,
Fun facts. It's 2364, and it's been 5 episodes since that last saucer separation took place.
ooh.
Guess they
Yeah.
forgot the ship can do that.
No, no. It's only for emergencies, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be like season 2, episode 1. They'll be like, "Oh, we need to separate,
Oh,
Captain."
yeah. I don't remember, to be
Oh,
honest.
separate on my command.
I think I could literally think of like 2 more times, and I can't, other than that, I can't remember off the top of my head. So he says cryostasis tubes. There are people icicles in there. I wonder how they're being frozen intertwined with the eugenics war. Was it difficult for this to take place? It
We
is
don't
really
talk about.
interesting. I do legitimately like think it's cool that I don't know if the writers intended for this, but I think it's cool that Khan and his people are taking over the Earth. They make like a pact with humanity and they get put in cryostasis and sent out on the Botany Bay. And it's really interesting to then think that that technology was then like advertised on Earth as like you too can have this for your dead loved ones kind of thing. You know, we saw how there were supermen on Earth and they were mighty, and it's like just think of, whatever could be done in space in the future. Just freeze your loved ones and, they'll be brought back to life. Like that's the whole gimmick. It's an interesting way to possibly tie those things together.
It's a weird time for that to be happening.
Wow, yeah. Yes.
I mean, there's always like weird companies that do shady stuff
Yes.
while bad stuff happening in the world, but I don't know. It is interesting now that you mentioned it that like the eugenics war is at like the same time period, and it's like
Yeah,
it's weird.
it is.
Very weird.
Well, we'll get to learn all about it in the new audio series, Star Trek Con. Look for that coming soon.
I don't. Mm-mm. You lost me at con.
Yeah, I lost you at Star Trek. Time for a trip to the neutral zone, investigating the involvement of the Romulans. I hadn't really thought of it before, but I think Caleb has a good point. With the Klingons being peaceful with the Federation now, it makes sense that they would want to introduce another primary enemy for the show.
Yeah, I mean, what else? What else is it? They look like Vulcans. They're bad. You
Yeah,
know.
and you have a Klingon walking around on the bridge. It's a little hard to be like, yeah, we're at war with the Klingons. Like, they're bad guys. It's like, well, what about that guy standing behind you? Like, hey, he's different. He's fine.
Oh, he was kidnapped when he was a child and forced to be in the Federation.
Right? Oh, great.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I think that's the thing, right? Is like they
Yeah.
could still be at war with the Klingons, like according to Worf's backstory.
Yes.
It's not like it's not like he's a proud like Klingon that joined the Federation, and it's just kind of like, oh, he was taken in by humans as a child, and so it's like, okay, so Like, do the Klingons really like? Are they part of the Federation? Are they not part of? Like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Didn't you see that he's a Klingon and he's on the Enterprise? Just
We did it.
stop asking so many questions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then he says, safer to send one ship, was it? Who's there to back you up if the stuff hits the fan by the neutral zone?
Mm.
I like that the show establishes how different Captain Picard is than Kirk. Picard would rather outthink than outfight. Not that Kirk can't take the diplomatic approach, but taking the diplomatic road is definitely Picard's way. And I think that's true because it's like I don't think that Kirk is anti-diplomatic, but a perfect example is Pike is more diplomatic, and we see the result of him handling them chasing the Romulans
Mm.
in that episode. And because Pike is more like, let's think things out, let's try to make friends, let's try to make peace, it ends up
Yeah,
making, another Earth Romulan war. But Kirk chases the guy down
peacemakers.
and like shoots him, right? He like attacks him. So,
Yeah, it shows their strength,
right.
keeps them from invading, basically. Yeah, that is interesting. It doesn't matter now though, Will, because the Romulans are back.
You
Don't
are correct.
understand. You don't understand what we're saying, Picard. We are back. And Picard's still like, I don't, I have no idea what that means.
Mr. Data, what did I say about bringing strange people aboard the ship? They were frozen in the late 90s, thus my eugenics wars question earlier. But that was 370 years ago. How weird it would be to adjust to life so far in the future. Agreed that it was dumb to have Data and Worf in sickbay when they were woken up. Why shock them further?
Yeah, that was really stupid.
Yeah, it's very stupid.
I like the idea of people from the past being in the future like
Oh,
this.
yeah. Yeah.
This is interesting to me. Probably more so than like them trying to blend in into the past.
Yes.
That's just me.
Then he says the idea of no TV beyond 2040. Clearly, they still have screens. So, what do they use them for?
Data.
Yeah, they don't watch TV. That's what they do. They look at computer generated pictures of their family and they watch holographic women play like lutes and like violins or
Ah.
whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know where have we seen that before? That's got to be an original concept, right?
Yeah.
I definitely didn't see like Wookiees watching that kind of stuff, you know?
Then he says, moving on, while I'm not a fan of the thawed people, I think Riker was a little harsh. No redeeming qualities? You just met these folks.
They want them to like catch up to their 300 years like in, 15 minutes.
Right.
And for them to be like, "Oh my God, the Romulans are back." Yeah, they don't know any of this stuff like idiots. And it's like, "Hey, like I said, like maybe let's just unthaw them and wake them up after this whole situation."
Oh, totally.
They're like, "No, we got to wake them up now. We gotta wake
I
them
mean,
up
don't
now."
I try not to compare new stuff with old stuff, but I just think about them waking up Captain America, right? Like he was
Yeah.
frozen and then they woke him up in that room and they put like the baseball game on and they put him in the fake room. Now it's like he obviously picked up on the fact that he was in a weird room and things were not right, but
Yeah.
he eased into the future,
Yeah.
a little bit more so. So you would think that they, like you said, would keep them sedated on the ship. They would encounter the Romulans. They would go to a
Yeah.
star base. They would transfer these people into the star base, put them in a holodeck, and then like wake them up in like the 90s kind of a setting, and then like gradually let them know like, hey, it's a few hundred years in the future, and blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
ground them with things. And so when the guy's like, "What are the Braves are doing?" They're like, "Well, let's turn on the TV and you can see what the Braves are doing."
No TV.
Well, no, but it's a holodeck simulation. You know what I mean? So they can play it.
Even in the holodeck,
No
there's
TV and
no TV.
holodeck.
The thing too with Captain America is that like Fury like talked to him for like a long time about stuff after. Well, I mean he runs away first, but after
Yeah,
that he like really kind of explains things to him.
right.
And they have him watch like the news and all of like the past like stuff that's happened. This is like, hey, we'll talk to you about some stuff. Just sit in this room all together for a
We'll tell
while.
you we'll tell you
We'll,
things in piecemeal.
we'll tell you just enough to keep you confused and irritated. All right.
Right, right.
Don't worry. We'll send in the therapist and she'll just talk to one of you. Okay.
Yep. And then we'll send in the android and he'll explain concepts that you don't understand.
Yeah, he'll use words you have no idea what they mean. Why does that make me feel bad? Hey, you got any booze and pills on this ship or I
No.
just love booze and pills.
I love a booze and pill. Well, why do
I'm
you
like,
think
yeah,
so? Eugenics wars. He hates. He's trying to
yeah.
get rid of his.
How whatever happened to that clown fella?
Yeah.
He was really onto some stuff.
I tell you what. I tell you what. Right
That
now,
would have been so much better.
if that guy had said that, people would be like, "Yeah, we don't like a lot of this episode, but that's pretty cool."
That's pretty interesting, yeah. Uh
He says, "Yes, they're from the 1990s, but see them for their potential. Isn't that sort of how Starfleet operates? I don't get it.
no,
Why wake them up?"
not this Starfleet.
Troy actually had something meaningful to offer. Nice to have her research the Romulans and bring something that actually mattered to the table, which was true because I remember we were commented in our podcast that you were like, so Troy just says all of this stuff about Romulans and then they just move on from it, and you were like, that seems important to talk about.
Yeah. Too busy.
Yep. The possibility of the Romulans attacking outposts made me think of Balance of Terror or A Quality of Mercy, which were the two episodes we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But there was also another mystery mentioned that isn't resolved here. The outposts were scooped up.
Yeah.
The Romulans could be looking to learn more about the military might of the Federation, but it seems more plausible that there's another threat out there.
I doubt
I
it. The
appreciated
Klingon.
it's probably the Klingons. Maybe it's the Gorn.
Ooh, no, it won't be.
It won't be. I appreciated your trivia highlighting that the plan was to link this to the Borg. I was wondering at first if it had been the crystalline entity. Cool to know.
Who knows?
Who knows? Not us.
I'm pretty sure it's the skitters. Skitter
Yeah,
bugs are
it's
going
the
through
skitter
space.
bugs. They're scooping up huge
They're
outposts.
just they're just eating. They're like termites. Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
termites.
Yeah, but they eat metal,
Oh.
flying through space, eating metal.
Then he says, Troy, round two. I like that she came in to help Claire out. Claire's situation is interesting. She didn't want this. Now, how does she cope? Perfect topic for a counselor to help someone with. Provide some counseling.
Yeah,
He says, so, question for you too. Would you want to know about your family if you were in her shoes?
that's a good question.
Honestly, the really weird thing is, and I think you and I both can agree, because neither of us have children, I think we both would want to know what happened, like what age our wives died at. But you wouldn't
Yeah,
be expecting like a lineage because it's like we don't have kids. So it's like you would be checking on like our nieces and nephews
yeah,
to be like, what did they go on to do, kind of a
yeah.
thing.
When did my dogs die?
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't know. I would know that, like, okay, there's kind of no point, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would.
Interesting. I think I would at least look back to see if my wife, like what age she died at and stuff like that. And I probably would check on family that I know have kids and like see, maybe try to reconnect with somebody. But
I don't. I definitely wouldn't reconnect with anybody.
no,
That's for sure. No, because it's so far in advance. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm not gonna be. I don't know.
I think the only reason I would reconnect is like the people of this day and age in this era of like 2364. Like people are nice. They're not like jerks and they're not like scuzzy people.
Yeah.
They're kind. So it's like I probably would try to at least interact with them and be like, I'm your uncle.
That's what makes the concept of like Futurama so funny is that like the old man Farnsworth is like
Oh,
his nephew.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm the type of person where I would rather just have the idea in my head that like everything kind of worked out the way it did. Like I was frozen and then everybody kind of led
Everybody,
happy lives and whatever and be fine with that.
they
I
all
don't know.
died in World War III.
Yep. The eugenics war took them out.
Then it'd be really just a really depressing thing is have painstakingly take multiple times like you do with Chat GPT where you keep giving it new prompts to help you fix things, like be better, and you go to a holodeck and you just recreate your home and your wife and your
Oh,
dogs and you just sit in your house and you're just like they're like, "Hey man, but this isn't real." And you're like, "Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me."
yeah. That is probably what I would do.
You're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna see what's on Netflix tonight." They'd be like, it's 300 years in the future. You can like do that, right? Like
Uh,
you don't gotta
uh,
watch Star Wars. Like you can like be in a Star Wars movie, and you're like, nope, sitting on my couch watching
yeah.
it.
I gotta catch that new episode of Quark. I'm just in the holodeck, like in my basement, like building
Right,
stuff.
right. And you're like, this tape measure was never this hue of yellow, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Computer,
Yeah.
please generate coffee stain number 11 here on the table.
Yeah. Interesting concept though.
It is an interesting concept. Yeah. He goes on to say, I have a big issue with how freedom and clearance is handled in this episode. How do they just let one of these guys wander around the ship? If he couldn't control himself with the comms, why would they think he would do so with the rest of the ship?
Because the
How do
captain
you
told.
just let some person come up on the bridge?
Why does the security just stand there and let him be there? That's a better
I
question.
I have no idea.
Get him off the bridge. But you know
But
what? He actually makes a really good point.
yeah, but not too fast. Don't get him.
They're lying to you.
He says, yes, people in the 24th century have more self-control, but this ship has hundreds of civilians on board. There must be
No.
some sort of safety or security measures in place.
Nope. 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 And
No.
we've never seen anybody like steal shuttles or any of that kind of stuff. So everybody in the future, they're very well behaved. They
Nobody.
understand protocol. Even the children. We've never seen children in rooms they shouldn't be in.
No.
Everybody's great. I mean, give it a rest.
You not understand this is the future?
Yeah. What do you not get? What do you not get about Federation? They're great. All the admirals are great.
Yeah. Then Worf says, we need to attack. He says, buddy, get ready to be denied frequently going forward. It's Picard's favorite hobby after archaeology.
When he's not walking city blocks.
That's right. The situation
Halloween?
the situation was resolved peacefully, but the Romulans are back. What were they up to for the last 50 plus years?
They had important matters.
Apparently killing Klingon outposts.
You can't even comprehend the things that the Romulans had to deal with.
I get the impression that they were like, "Oh, Federation, let's go fight the Klingons," because that's kind of what I thought. Because with Worf, losing his family to Romulans, so
Yeah, that's right, because they did specifically say like, yeah, Worf's like parents were like killed by the Romulans in that raid.
I always assumed in that stretch from the movies to now, like they've been assaulting the Klingons, which is why
That's
they
so
hate them so
weird.
much.
ever since the last Kirk movie, the Klingons and Federation are like kind of together. Like they
Yes.
gave them a new planet.
Yeah, they're not like a part of the Federation, but they're like two governments that are in agreement with each other. It's kind of like
So why would the Romulans take on anybody that's involved with like the Federation?
because they want war. They want to fight. They want to fight and kill everybody.
Well, I don't know why.
Well, that's because they don't explain them.
They have a lot of space past the neutral zone.
Yeah. There are some untold Romulan stories, like the Earth Romulan War in the 2160s, and how the Romulans were causing some issues after the Khitomer Accords were signed. That whole lost era of the early to mid 2300s would be a cool pocket to explore. And
No.
that is the thing that this is like going back to my thing I talked about a long time ago about Star Trek Into Darkness when they were like, oh man, we brought back Khan with Benedict Cumberbatch, and you're like, why? It's the same thing when they were like, we're going to do Star Trek Discovery and we're going to cover a time period that no one's ever talked about. They're like,
Yeah, before Kirk.
and it's like, okay, before Kirk, you're like, all right. And after Archer, you're like, okay, I'm ready for it. Earth Romulan War, here we go. And they're like, how about a Klingon conflict that they don't talk about at all in Star Trek? And you're like, okay. Oh,
Yeah. Have
oh.
you heard of the Zindi? No, you haven't. You know why you haven't heard of the Zindi? Because we just made them up.
Yeah. I
The Romulan stuff, that's coming in season 5, baby. Season 5 will hit the
yeah.
Romulan War. Oh, we're canceled.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing that like super sucks is exactly what you're saying was that it was coming. Season 5 was going to have the Earth Romulan War. Ah, it sucks. Sucks hard.
Nah, sucks real good.
Yeah, and I always thought it. I agree with him too that the next stretch is between Star Trek 6 and the Next Generation. That's another really good unexplored area. So, but no, it's all these TV shows that are like 5 years before a major series starts. It would be like imagine if they
Yeah.
were like it's Star Trek Boldly Go, and then it's like, well, it takes place 6 years before Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah.
You're like, well, why? Like, well, don't you want to see Picard being slightly younger with hair, and
Mm,
he's not
absolutely.
he's the captain of the Stargazer. Like, what?
It starts with him in Paris.
It starts with him in Paris. Hear me out. Hear me out.
The camera pans up. We see the Eiffel Tower. It zooms into a cafe. There's Picard. Full, full head of hair. He says, I can't do this. I have to be a captain. And he leaves.
Scene 2.
Scene 2. He's on the Enterprise. We fast forward 40 years. It's Next Gen episode 1. No one saw it coming.
uh,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
he then goes on to say, I felt Mark Alimo does a great job acting here. He was the Romulan who talked the most in the episode. He
Hmm.
says he's an awesome actor in general. But his first officer guy to the left of him is such a stiff actor. It was
Yeah,
hard to watch with how far apart in quality these guys were.
yeah, yeah. I picked up on that too.
And he says, I don't mind his line about being back, but I think it's because I cut him slack knowing he's ultimately going to play someone else.
Oh,
I
interesting.
can't I can't wait until you guys get to Deep Space Nine in 2031.
Yeah, me too.
And they give this little tongue out emoji.
2032. Yeah,
Yep.
it'll be so far in the future that we won't even remember a time in our history where Star Trek was on first on television.
Hope we can watch all of it before 2040. Otherwise, we won't have TV anymore.
It's just you and me are just like you come over and like it's just an apocalypse and I have like an old DVD player that's all dusty and like a TV from the 40s, the big tube
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we're watching Star Trek. You
Oh man.
remember when this show was on?
I think the thing that's gonna be really funny is when we're on like season 5 or season 6 of Deep Space Nine, and then like Captain Alimar or From My Office or Daystrom Review or even Ed Markstar are gonna comment on like an episode of the original series or the animated series, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be like literally 10 years
What?
ago.
Oh God, don't,
Sorry. Sorry
don't,
about that.
don't,
Nope.
don't.
I'm sorry. So
You remember
then,
when we used to talk about Dragon Balls?
yeah, I don't
That
know.
was that was what an adventure.
Then he
Oh God.
concludes with the thawed ones are a reminder of the past, but
The
the
thought
mission
ones.
but the mission is to move forward.
Oh God. That's
I
really
think
fun.
that statement well sums up season 1 of Next Gen. Great job, guys. Looking forward to continuing the adventure in season 2.
Stay tuned for more starts. We got this is Picard. We have lots of stuff
Lots.
we want to do, like space stuff and
We got
ship
like
stuff.
cool thing.
Well, maybe we'll get an engineer. Who knows? We'll have to
Who
see in season 2.
knows?
Get an engineer. Maybe more Paris. Perhaps.
No, way less Paris. Way less Paris.
Way less.
Well,
London.
that was the
Um,
comments for this week. We appreciate everybody putting down in the comment section their thoughts of the season 1 finale of Star Trek The Next Generation. We look forward to tackling them once we start season 2. But before we conclude the video, let's talk about what's so popular this week. Yeah, so this week, from yet again, KK Can 2020 takes a still of T'Pol in Starfleet uniform and says she looks pretty good in Starfleet blue.
yeah.
And I will admit, when I first saw this, I was like, I don't think I like, well, who cares? Almost went to like the next post to like move on. But then I was like, no, in reality, looking back on it, I would have rather have seen her in this instead of like her weird, like fuchsia, I don't know what they call.
It's like a maroonish weird color. Yeah.
Yeah,
When she kind of like disavows herself from that side of things, like she should have totally like put
right.
on a Starfleet uniform.
Yeah. So pretty cool. At first I was like, who cares? But then I was like, nah, you know what? I like it.
Cool. Especially because she's like second in command.
Right. I think that's from the episode where Archer loses his memory, and this is like the flashback of how he's like left in his quarters because he can't remember anything, and I think he fights his way to the bridge or something. I think that's that episode.
That's why the Zindi stuff is not good. Because they went on so many like side stories from that and like just wrap up the Zindi thing and move on, but like they couldn't.
They could not.
They couldn't. It was just like they kept doing stuff that was not Zindi related, but also then like, hey, at the end of the episode, like, hey, we gotta keep looking for that Zindi weapon.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was like,
oh, yeah.
oh yeah. I forgot we were at whoa.
And then next is from the TOS subreddit. Surprise, surprise. And guess who it's
Obviously.
from yet again?
Yep.
KK Can 2020. He says save money on special effects. And it says 1960s special effects.
They just lean back in their chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. They're going.
Setting warp 5, Captain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny to think that like back then that was like the peak of, like special effects and stuff. And now it's like just dudes like us just in our house like on our computer like we can do like movie quality special effects
Oh,
just with
yeah.
like free programs and stuff.
Yeah,
It's pretty nuts.
true. It's really crazy to think, too, that you and I right now could generally, like with your basement stuff, like we could film a short little like 50-minute episode of something, right? And still do the same stuff that they did in the 60s show where it's simple and it's not
Yeah.
really you just got to film from certain angles so it looks like you're coming from this part of the ship or this part or doing this thing, right? But then on top of it, we could add like Strange New Worlds level of graphics to it, right? Like
Hmm.
the set might be kind of like rudimentary and simple like the 60s, but our special effects would be like over the top kind of a thing. So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's great because like I have a lot of like softwares on the computer that I use for like editing and stuff, but like there are times when like I can like just send you like raw footage to your iPhone and you use the iPhone footage
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
program on there and it just like removes backgrounds like
Yeah.
without even trying like without green screen or blue screen or anything.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
universe we live in now.
Well, that concludes the episode for this week. We appreciate everybody writing in the comments, giving us something to talk about. We appreciate everybody following along, caring about what we're doing, and sharing your thoughts with us. But don't look for Hailing Frequencies Open next week. We're taking a break. When we come back, we look forward to seeing your comments on The Child.
The Child.
So thank you for doing all the fun, excellent things down below. And until 2 weeks from now, Hailing Frequencies closed.